Hello and welcome to another edition of Papa and Scott Talk Baseball. Y'all should have watched the first 10 minutes because it was great. I was talking about the Virginia games this week. That's right. Going back to Omaha.
Yeah.
Was this 3 years in a row now?
Yep. Going back to the World Series.
Friday night, they're showing all the banners on the fence, and that coach has them playing well at the right time. So my friends went to the games. Exciting times for Virginia. And we're not looking for them to win, but it's just exciting for them to be there, and what happens.
Can't win unless you're there.
That's right. So it's exciting baseball. Again, looking for 3 or 4 guys to be drafted off of that team again. It's nice to root for a Virginia team that doesn't have to scrounge. They just reload every year. It seems like with players. With the rest of the sports we enjoy watching, with Virginia, it's a struggle. We're doing all right in basketball, but it's still a struggle. It seems like
they do. I'm excused, folks. I got a cold. We had Bible school at church all last week, 8 hours a day. I caught a bug from one of the kids, but that's beside the point. And so I got a lozenge in my mouth, water on the table, and a scratchy voice. But here we go. What were we talking about? Oh. One thing I like about the College World Series is that these kids ain't playing for money.
Right.
They're playing because they love baseball.
Right.
These kids just love baseball. And the other thing is, too, we're talking about the Virginia teams. A lot of what they call the B sports, not football and basketball, but the B sports, baseball. The girls softball team was a lot better this year.
And they've only been in existence for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. The swimming and diving team won their 3rd or 4th championship in a row.
Right.
The lacrosse team got to the semifinals. And then, it's just the golf team did very well. So a lot of teams do well in Virginia. It's just the football team. The football team is at a disadvantage because they don't have the facilities some of the other schools do, and
it's hard to get in.
It's
they're going after the same
part of
Stanford and Northwest.
Virginia, you can't get in there on a scholarship and not go to class.
Right.
You can't get NIL money and he's not going to class, but he's going online. Sure,
they did a few years ago. They did come out and say they did loosen it a little bit for athletes, but they didn't loosen it where you can play a sport and just walk in. You still, and I mean, there's other schools that do that. I mean, but
Vanderbilt, Duke,
yeah, and I mean, and they struggle at football because you got to have such a large roster,
exactly,
top talent. That's where they struggle at, and not most of those kids go to Stanford. It seems like to play football, so it's tough. Which will be an ACC next year.
Well, I mean, if you might go to another school as an athlete in any sport to play professional sports. A lot of the athletes that go to the University of Virginia are going to be doctors and lawyers.
Yeah.
And work in some other field because they're going for the education. So, I mean, it's
yeah. And I mean, it's not saying that to belittle anybody. It's just.
No, we're not. I mean, because you go to college, boys and girls, it's up to you to do something with it.
That's right.
It's not up to the school to do it.
Yeah.
It's up to
Once you get in, it's on you after that.
Exactly.
And we all know what a small percentage of people go on and play their sport after that, or make money from their sport after that. But let's get to what we love to talk about, baseball this week. Little series going on in London. Mets, Phillies. I am not thrilled that they do this during mid-season. They had to fly over Friday or late Thursday. Both teams didn't play Friday. I think they both had early games on Thursday, I think it was, and left and then they play Saturday, Sunday, and they're flying. I think they both have off tomorrow.
Yeah, they're off tomorrow, and they both play Tuesday.
Yeah, and I
believe.
And it seems like it was good. Place was packed. I understand trying to get the game out there. I just, if you want to do that, after the season, put a team together to go play in those countries. They used to do that before. Back in the 80s and 90s, the team would go into Asia and play the old style barnstorming series and stuff. During
the other thing, son, they said on yesterday's, I didn't see this morning's because I was at church, but they said yesterday that they sold thousands and thousands of hats and jerseys, T-shirts. I mean, they had, it was, they showed the stands, and there was a lot of people with Mets and Phillies stuff on.
Well, there was, a lot of Americans went over there. I mean, I said it in one, I would love to go to Europe anyway, and this would have been a great excuse to go to England, London, because I don't know when or why I would ever go, but I would love to watch a game over there. Of course, I'm not a soccer fan at all, but if I go over there and there's a soccer game going on, I'm going for the experience. I don't care about the game itself. Because I know if you were in that crowd during a soccer game, it's a different atmosphere. But it seemed like they got into it. I know what little bit I watched today was when they were talking to Chase Utley, who I can't stand, but for different reasons. And he's the ambassador to England or Europe for MLB or whatever. So I know right now they have MLB started a league in Italy. They started a league in Australia. Japan and Korea already have. Japan's had a league since before World War II. Korea has had a league. I don't know how long, but it's been around a long.
They started in the 1960s.
Okay, I thought it was, and so they're trying to get it. Because the NFL wants to move a team. They want to have a team in London. I can't see baseball doing that because it's too many games. And
too many games. There's too much traveling. I mean,
right.
If you could go through a black hole somewhere and get there in 5 minutes, it'd be okay.
Right.
Flying 8, 9, 10 hours.
It's not feasible. It's too many time zones and all of that.
The NFL would love to move the Jacksonville Jaguars to London.
Well, that's because Jacksonville Jaguars owner owns United. What is
Manchester United.
Yeah, Manchester United. So, I mean, yeah, he wants a team over there badly. So, they could take Tampa. They could move Tampa to London and get a probably better, more people at the games. But, I just don't like it during the season. If it was in the same, hemisphere or whatever, like going to Mexico or Canada or Puerto Rico, it's not as bad. But going to, you said earlier it was a 7-hour, 6-hour time difference. To me, that's not fair to the players.
When I used to, I went to Germany 3 times working for the company I worked for, a German chemical company. Scott worked for them too, but as a supervisor, I went over there and represented the company for groups of people 3 times. Well, once I went for 31 days for schooling, but the other 2 times I went to different shows and stuff and represented the company. But it took us 10 hours to fly home because you're flying into the wind. And with a tailwind, it takes you about 8.5, 9 to get to Frankfurt. It's about 6 or about 7 to get to London.
Right.
So
I don't know.
I think
I don't get excited
about it. I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with them just doing 2 games. They got a day off before and a day off after. They're going to have to acclimate a little bit, but I think it's all right. And
right, and
the players loved it.
Well, I'm sure it's different for them, but like the Phillies are having a dream season to me. They're having one of those years, right? Everything's just falling for them, right? I looked at the top 10 power pitchers, and they got two of them on the top 10.
And they got Suarez back.
Right. So you know, I would hate for them as much as I love the Mets and hate the Phillies. I would hate to see them drop 2 to the Mets because of just not feeling it, and then that kind of snowball effect. I'm glad that it was a split, and it looked like the Phillies were playing good ball still, and the Mets just. But I've heard some trade rumors this weekend, but we'll talk about that. That's something we're going to be looking at like we did last year, because I think it's going to be a lot of movement and not just pitchers. But because I got somebody we need to probably talk about today too with what's going on. But yeah, that was just my only concern. I thought bringing it up to you with how much baseball, because you've been around watching the game or listening to a radio when it was on the probably
since the early 1950s.
Since when the westernmost team was probably in St. Louis, and it went
St.
by
Louis Cardinals.
So
St. Louis Cardinals was the westernmost team. There were no teams below the Mason-Dixon line.
Right. So it was, travel was different, and I mean,
they went by train.
Yeah, went by train. So I just thought I'd bring that up. I just feel like, because if you want to promote the game, there's other ways to do it than that. I just feel like it's not as bad as football when you take a team and you're making a team forfeit a home game to go play somewhere else. To me, that's unfair to the fans. But Phillies and the Mets have 81 home games. So if they forfeit a home game each, that's only one. They still got 80 home games. I think they'll be okay.
Well, one thing was kind of cool yesterday was Bryce Harper hit a home run. And when he came across home plate, he ran back to the dugout and he slid on his knees like the soccer guys do.
Oh, okay. I read it and I couldn't understand when
it was one of those soccer celebrations. And they asked him about it after the game, and he said, I thought about that this morning at the hotel. If I hit a home run, I might do that. And when he did that, of course, the crowd went nuts because it was one of those soccer celebrations they do when they score a goal. And
I did. One of my Phillies friends sent me a picture of a Philly guy in the stands that said, England lost when spotted 13 colonies. So, I thought that was pretty funny, and that was right up a Philly. That'd be what a Philly fan would wear in England. So that was, and I love the fact that London wanted it. This is the second year of it, and they really love the game. I think baseball. I think baseball captures the world because there's so many big names through history for it. Bigger than any other sport. You got Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron. That's bigger. I don't care who you throw out at any other than Pele. That they're huge names, right? So
Madonna.
Yeah, you can put some hockey guys,
a few soccer guys,
and
a few basketball.
Yeah, and I'm just sitting there. I think that's why people love it.
Well, the best known athlete of all time was Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, it's probably true. That's probably true. But anything else for us around the league, Dave?
Oh, sure. It's not a whole lot because I was kind of busy this week, but I got to do this again. The Orioles. They made a great pickup to save their pitching staff. They picked up Julio Teheran. The guy hadn't pitched in 2 years. Last time he pitched, he was like 4-14. This was the big pickup. We've been talking about, they're going to make a big trade, get a pitcher. They got him.
Well,
now I can't complain. They've won about 9 games in a row, or 8 games.
Well, they got one of the best pitchers right now on their team, Corbin Burns. So
yeah, Corbin Burns, and yesterday Bradish pitched a magnificent 6 innings.
They were high on him for a while, and I'm glad he's stepping up. But I'm going to throw a name out there. I've talked about him before. I think he's getting terribly blackballed. Yes, he's an asshole, but he's an asshole that can pitch. And excuse my language. Trevor Bauer is still sitting out there, and teams need pitching. He's grown up a little bit. He's still Trevor Bauer, but you could put, if he wins games, who cares? The Dodgers put up with that crap. I just think Baltimore would be a good fit for him because I think that coach could handle it. And
I've got a feeling there's 30 teams in baseball. I have a feeling it has nothing to do with the 30 teams in baseball. I have a feeling MLB doesn't want him.
Right.
The MLB, the hierarchy in MLB does not want him in the league because even if he's been exonerated in that one case and all that, and the woman was making it all up or most of it up.
She's going to go to probably see jail time for making it up. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's still there. And if somebody picks him up, you're going to have people in the crowd screaming it, hollering it. You're going to have people. Folks, social media is a powerful thing. Talk about my man today. I got to talk about him at least one more time. Angel Hernandez, my man. I've gotten more material off of this one dude talking baseball. It came out this week that the reason he retired before the end of the season was that he was vilified, insulted, and threatened on social media. The social media was so bad that he decided to retire to protect him and his family. Angel, I have an original concept for you. Don't look at social media.
Or just be better.
Then you won't see it.
They'll turn it on.
Look, I don't do faceplant, Twitter bird, or any of that junk. Instant coffee or whatever you got. I don't do any of that stuff. I have a landline, a flip phone, and email. That's it. I don't text. I don't do any of that stuff. So if it bothers you, if it's raining and I don't want to look at it, I close the blind. I mean, just don't look at it. Then it won't bother you. But that's the reason he gave for getting out of baseball. That's why he retired early. I'm going, oh my goodness.
Well, I mean, Trevor Bauer is trying to use, I watch highlights. He's on YouTube and all that stuff. He is, and they show highlights of his games that he's pitching in Mexico. And I mean, his stuff's good. I'm sitting here going, like you said, there has to be an exterior reason why his name doesn't even come up in chat on a baseball show. His name doesn't even come up. Like he doesn't exist. And I'm like, I don't get it. My friend Ed loves Trevor Bauer. I'm with him. I think he got hosed. And yes, he can be a cancer, but he's a winner too. It just
I would think that, you give the guy another chance and see what he does. I mean, if he behaves himself, you're fine.
Look, if you're the first one to offer him, he's not going to. You could sign him for $2 and a Tic Tac. He's going to sign whatever because Trevor will bet on himself. He will bet on himself just to get back in the league and prove to his naysayers he was a Cy Young winner. I mean, just not that long ago. He was killing it for the Dodgers when this all happened. And he got blackballed for a woman that was flat out lying during. He got caught up in the Me Too movement, which he's not the only one, but I'm sorry. It's just, first off, MLB owes him a huge apology and probably owes him a check. And then they need to let him back in the league and play.
Right, exactly.
And I mean, if he screws up, you can let him go.
Yeah. Oh, the Toronto Blue Jays, Alek Manoah, the pitcher, went out in an elbow and he's out for the year.
Yeah.
They're going to look in there and they'll put in the gizmo or do the Tommy John, but he's out for the year.
I saw where one of the better pitchers for the Astros is out now for Tommy John.
And it came out yesterday that Cody Senga won't be back to the Mets until at least after the All-Star break.
I keep saying they're not giving it a date. They're just when he's ready, he's ready.
Now, when you were talking about trades, were you talking about your boy? Is that what you heard? Because I've got something on.
Well, go ahead if you got.
There's a report in Major League Baseball. Here's another report that came out. A lot of general managers in that said that the Mets aren't going to get but so much for Alonso.
I don't think
because they're looking at when J.D. Martinez went to the Diamondbacks and the Yankees got Rizzo. They didn't have to give. Neither one of those teams had to give up a whole lot for a power hitter because these power hitters strike out a lot, and also you're not going to get but so much.
But my thought is, I don't care what you get something.
Yeah, you get something.
Get somebody that you have or a couple of minor leaguers that are mid, like you're not going to get a top 5 prospect off of somebody's team. You're not. But get somebody, you get a major leaguer already that has like 3 or 4 years of control left. And then you get a minor leaguer that's a prospect that that you're high on, that maybe is the team's 9th projected player or something like that for the future, and is young to build on. But at least you got something. And then you try to re-sign him after the season's over with if you want him back. I love Pete. I love him to death. But the Mets suck. They do.
Yeah. They're not
great. J.D. Martinez is going to probably get traded. Harrison Bader is going to probably get these guys that are on 1-2 years contracts are going to probably get traded. Severiano, he's not having a bad season. He would be a great 3 or 4 for a team pick for pitching.
Like Baltimore.
Yeah, like Baltimore. I mean, that to me, that's just smart for you're not winning anyway. Who cares? You're done this year. You total collapse of the top 2 teams, and you got to play like you and not lose another series to anybody for the rest of the year. And I don't see that happening.
Did anybody wonder how many people saw the parade in New York yesterday?
I didn't.
The Dodger fans going to Yankee Stadium to watch the Yankees.
Oh, but I saw they did the chant in Yankee Stadium for the players. Did you see that?
Yeah, but the Dodgers, I'm talking about the parade before. The police, the New York cops gave the Dodger fans a police escort, thousands of them, for 2 blocks because there's so many Dodger fans still in New York from the old Brooklyn days.
But they were up at, they did, how the Yankee fans chant each player's name? You were there for it. You saw it.
Yeah, I was up there when they did it. Yeah.
The Dodgers did it for the Dodgers players when they took the field.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know that.
Yes. And they were louder than the Yankees.
Oh, the Dodger fans were all over that stadium.
Yeah.
And then Friday night, the Dodgers won in 11 innings, and then yesterday they won 11-3. Judge hit 2 home runs.
Right.
Now, what is significant about this? Who's missing? Juan Soto.
Oh, yeah, he's out. Yeah.
He's out. So if you take Juan Soto out of the lineup, it hurts him. He comes back. You better hope Judge doesn't get hurt. Because obviously, if you take one of these 2 guys out, they're going to be hurting.
Yeah, and Judge has finally found his stroke again.
Judge. See, and the other thing is, I've always, ever since we finally got a television and I saw a game in Yankee Stadium, I recognized it right away. This is why Judge is such a fantastic player and had that home run record. But he had a ball to right field yesterday, been caught in any ballpark in the nation except that one because of that short porch. Kiki Hernandez, same thing. Hit the ball right off the end of the bat and landed in the second row in that short porch. Had been caught in any other ballpark in the major leagues. The left-handed batters that have played in Yankee Stadium, old and new, have always had a big advantage over anybody else in baseball. That's why they had so many home runs.
Right.
Roger Maris, Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle was a switch hitter, but there's more right-handed pitchers than left-handers. So he batted left-handed most of the time. But two of the best Yankee players were Joe DiMaggio and Judge, and they're right-handed. But one of Judge's home runs yesterday, it was one of those little pop flies over. It just bugs me that yes. But
and we also this week we had Skeens versus Ohtani. Did you see that matchup?
Yeah, and Skeens got him a couple of times. He got him
but he couldn't get his breaking ball over. Like his off-speed pitch, he could not get it over the plate. So Ohtani just sat red and finally caught up to a fastball. He was a little late on it, but he hit that thing a long way.
About 425 feet.
Yeah. So it's because they were saying how hard Ohtani swings and how hard Skeens throws. This is going to go a long way.
Well, yeah. Oscar Hernandez of the Dodgers won the game in the 11th inning the other night on Friday night. Then yesterday, he hit a grand slam, a solo home run and a grand slam, drove in 6 runs. He's the only – he and J.D. Martinez are the only – this is one of those baseball trivia things I have to add. I just love them. They're the only 2 players in the history of the sport to have 6 RBI games for 3 different teams. He and J.D. And J.D. might get traded again.
Yeah.
Another thing this weekend. Seattle's beating Kansas City 8-0 in the 3rd inning. Kansas City won the game 11-10. And Kansas City came back out yesterday and won again. So that young team that you were talking about at the beginning of the year, they look real good. The Tigers are still playing decent.
Yep.
The team that I said to watch. But I just wanted to bring that up about Oscar Hernandez because he had a heck of a with the to have 6 RBIs for 3 in a game for 3 different teams. That means you can hit the ball pretty good. Why would people keep getting rid of you? I don't get it. I mean, it seems to me I'd want to keep a guy like that.
Well, I mean, look, Soto has been on 3 teams and he ain't even 25. I don't.
Yeah, well, a lot of that's got to do with money.
And just where you're at, timing.
Yeah, the Nationals offered him money. He didn't want it. He wanted to go somewhere else. So they traded and got what they could for him. San Diego was in the same spot.
They got better than what they could. They got some players that are actually.
They do. And they traded. So San Diego did the same thing with the Yankees. They got what they could get because they knew they wouldn't be able to sign it.
And also they knew that their payroll's over. They couldn't take another loan out.
Oh, yeah. Here's the standings. The O's have been playing great, but the Yankees have a 2.5 game lead in the American League East. Cleveland is up by 3 over Kansas City because Cleveland is playing lights out. Seattle is up by 5 over Texas. Again, Seattle's the only team in that division with a winning record. The National League.
And you'd be shocked. You gave that stat last week where only 12 teams had a winning record. I think that shocked a lot of people when you made that statement because they didn't realize it until you said that.
This week it's 11.
Right.
It's winning. 11 have winning, 19 have losing records. In the National League, and this is bad for baseball, unless you want to follow the wild card. The Phillies are up by 9 over the Atlanta Braves, and the Atlanta Braves are crippled.
Yeah.
The Atlanta Braves, let's stop right there for a second and talk about Atlanta. This lady I know at church, her and her husband, but especially her, she's a huge Braves fan, has been for 50 years, loves the Braves. We were sitting there talking before church started in the pew. I didn't have to work in the children's department until children's church, so I got to sit with my wife. Well, we were sitting there talking about Atlanta, and she said, "What's wrong with them?" I said, "Well, they've got hurt pitchers, old pitchers, and First baseman's not having the year he had last year. Third baseman's not having the year he had last year. When Acuna got hurt, he wasn't having the year he had last year. Ozuna is the only guy on that team that's having a really decent year, really good year. So they're not playing as well. But they're one of the 11 teams that have a winning record. But they're down by 9 against Philly. Milwaukee is up by 6.5 over Cincinnati. The Cubs are in free fall.
Yeah, that's shocking to me because the Cubs had a really good offseason, I thought. They got a great pitcher. They got a couple of good pitchers. And then a great coach, great manager on top of that. I think probably the best in baseball. And for this to happen,
Well, Craig Counsell, I was thinking yesterday, I said, well, maybe he's having second thoughts because Milwaukee's playing so well, but he got so much more money going to the Cubs.
Yeah, I wish he was a Met manager.
Yeah, but anyway, and the Dodgers are up by 8 over San Diego. So the divisions in the National League are pretty much, it's real early and anything can happen. Let's face it, people get hurt, stuff like teams get. I'm telling you guys, I think I said it last week or the week before, Cincinnati gets some of their players back, they're going to start playing. And here they are in second place in the Central, in the National League, and they're winning. They have a very good record.
And they're a team that's young and are having fun. They're having fun playing the game. That the Royals are doing that. When the Astros did that when they first came out, that's why the Royals reminded me, and the Orioles remind me of the Astros. When the Astros first made it on the scene.
With all those kids.
I just hope the Orioles don't lose that and become a business-oriented team. So I think that's where it happened to Houston a little bit the last few years. Kind of takes the fun out of playing when you start losing a couple of players to free agency and the business side of the sport comes in and more into play. Now you're having that with Bregman a little bit. Now Altuve.
They signed Altuve.
Yeah, but they had to deal with it, right?
But they probably won't have. They might not be able to sign Bregman. They might not have enough money.
Right.
That's the other thing. That's the problem. That's the problem with not having a hard salary cap because the rich teams can just buy the players and that's the one problem with baseball. You have two or three teams that can buy everybody if they want. They don't always win.
But even now, the penalty is so harsh. If you don't win that first year, you can't go 2 or 3 years over the salary cap. You can't afford it because that's what happened to the Yankees. The Yankees had to cut some meat. The Padres found out real hard way last year. Even if you're a money team, if you go over that, you there's a harsh penalty and it increases it by a year. So I kind of like that without having a hard. I finally learned a little bit more about that this year. And I hope it continues to do that or even crack down even more on it. So that to me is nice to hear. Because I do think the league is more evened out. But when it comes to that, you might have 11 teams with a losing record because of that.
Well, yeah, and
you might have three teams before we get to July have a double-digit ahead in the wins column. Because of that, you're going to have some teams that are really good, and the majority of your teams are going to be in that 81-81 record range when it comes to the end of the season, and you're going to have a few teams that have almost 100 losses.
Well, Texas has lost something like 13 out of 18, and the Cubs have lost something like 15 out of 20 or something.
Right.
Those two teams are in tailspins, and of course,
and so many injuries.
It's so bad in the National League that I hate to say this, but the St. Louis Cardinals had a lead on the Colorado Rockies in St. Louis, and the Colorado Rockies came back and beat them. And I mean,
Pitching is horrible. I'm sorry. When you're sitting here watching a game, and I every night with the Mets, as soon as we go to the bullpen, I'm just like, well, what's going to happen now? And it's just, pitching is not good. And that's what.
Well, see, Atlanta's lost 2 to the Washington, and they play again today, and it's raining, so there's a rain delay. So they might win this one game, but I think later on in the week they've got to go to Baltimore. I think they go to Baltimore next. That's not going to be easy.
Yeah. And
so yesterday Gunnar became one of the youngest players ever to get 20 home runs this early in the season. Gunnar Henderson.
That's going to be the most interesting race in the American League is who gets MVP. Well, now that Soto's hurt.
Well, Soto, Gunnar Henderson, and if Judge keeps hitting like he's doing now, because he's already got, I think he's leading the baseball in home runs already, and he started off terrible. So this dude, he gets back up there, he might be in the running.
Right. Very, very well so. Yeah.
And that's in the American League.
Well, the season's been strange. I mean, I know it's a different year, but the Super Bowl was in this year. To me, this was one of the weirdest football seasons I've seen in my lifetime. With you could never pick who was going to win. I don't know much about basketball, but in hockey, we finally. When it's the last time we had a Canadian team in the final? It's just, and if they win,
I think a team from Florida.
Yeah, I think if Edmonton wins, it's the first time since 1990 a team from Canada has won the Stanley Cup, and I think
something like that. Yeah,
or 91.
The old Edmonton Oilers back in the day when they had Gretzky and Messier and
well, that was 80.
That's what I'm saying. That's when they had. That's when Canadian, and then of course, one of the longest winning streaks in sports is the Montreal Canadiens.
Right. But I mean, I'm just saying, like this whole like summer to now this summer has been kind of a sports world. It's been kind of crazy to me. I don't know.
Oh, and congratulations to the women's softball team from the University of Oklahoma. They won their 4th championship in a row.
That's
and
true.
Texas was ranked number 1, and Oklahoma came in there, and they were on a roll. And Oklahoma beat them 2 straight. I watched both those games.
So
anyway, you were going to talk about somebody. You said earlier about some trade or something.
No, Trevor Bauer, and then
Trevor Bauer
trade, yeah. And you started talking about Orioles because I think I was sitting there thinking today in my best spot where I think is on the throne. I'm sitting here and keep watching highlights of him down in Mexico. And don't get me wrong, I don't feel bad for anybody. If I am a believer of where there's smoke, there is fire type of deal. I do think he is a cancer and all of that, but I do think he needs a chance. And pitching is so bad in the league, and winning cures everything. So I think he could be a great addition, but you don't even hear MLB talking about him, like the TV channels or nothing. It's got me choked up.
I have to tell you this.
Go ahead.
Everybody watches this knows I'm 78 years old, or they know I'm an old guy, 78 years old. Well, I just work with a bunch of kids for a solid week. I had 2 parents or 2 people in church when I came down, came up to me and said, "How in the world did you make it all week with all those kids?" I said, "The grace of God and ibuprofen." That was how I made it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna let everybody go with that. Thank everybody for watching. Hit the like and share with a friend, and tell people if they want to laugh and watch 2 guys that don't really know much talk what they do know about baseball. And until next time, see ya.